So I spent the past year and a half trying to find a deal for my series. Through all of that, I had conversations with a lot of reputable places, and there were some offers, in particular some through fast channels, which I think is trending right now. But really, when you break down those offers, it just looked a lot like a watered down version of YouTube. After it was all said and done, I took the advice of some of the people I talked to, and so I'm back here on YouTube and I'm putting a focus on this platform. I think this is actually just the beginning. And I think that we're at the point where YouTube is going to begin swallowing this entire industry.
You are going to remember your homecoming night for the rest of your life. How do you want it to be? You lose to a team that we scheduled, that we felt like we was going to win? Or y'all going to go out here and dominate? Y'all know all them dudes over there. And now they're over there rapping, feeling real good.
To walk you through what my life has looked like since I released this series. Well, shortly after we were done, I had my second child. So that naturally allowed me to take some time off and be able to spend time with my family. But then I spent the next year into a year and a half just making connections with the industry. And when I say industry, I'm talking about showrunners at HBO, Netflix, all the different dogs. You know, that's who I'm trying to make relationships with. I'm trying to show them what I've done because I'm sitting on a second season and maybe there's interest for a first season. I even found a distributing partner who had distributed a lot of different films, you know, and he was kind of walking me through this process. I received some notes from some production companies that I find very reputable and was actually shocked that they actually took the time to provide feedback on my series. Some of the feedback I received was, well, you know, this is a story in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Nobody cares about Fort Wayne, Indiana. Had this been Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or, you know, a larger market, we would have more interest and maybe we would pull the trigger on it. But because it's a small market, you don't have that natural baked in audience. So I found that interesting because I think what that signals is, you know, when you are doing some of these fringe stories that aren't quite in these big markets, you don't have celebrities attached to it. You know, YouTube could be a great location for that. People still crave the underdog story. People still want, you know, just traditional storytelling in a smaller setting. When I go on streaming platforms like Netflix and I look at the documentaries, in particular sports documentaries, I'm seeing documentaries about Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and David Beckham and Michael Phelps. And that's cool, but I think a lot of people are kind of fatigued by all of that. And what I found is when you go through the comments on my series, a lot of people will say comments like, man, this is what should be on Netflix. What that showed me is that there is an appetite for just general storytelling in just a normal place in America. You know, it doesn't have to be the best team in history. It doesn't have to be a state championship football team. It doesn't have to be a celebrity athlete. Sometimes just a story in your own backyard can capture the attention of hundreds of thousands of people, which is what we did. And I find that being really cool because that's the power of YouTube. You know, 20 years ago, had I done this, there would have been nowhere that I could distribute this. You know, if they didn't care about Fort Wayne, that was the end of it. You know, I might show it to family and friends and it sits on a DVD on my shelf. But because we have YouTube, I'm able to put this out there, share it with the world, and I can create a foundational layer to build my documentary career from. It kind of just dawned on me one day talking to an aggregator, and he said, you know, man, like getting almost 1 million views on a YouTube channel on a series like yours that's brand new, that's not easy to do. You know, most people don't have that sort of experience. And so don't beat yourself up over this. And when I started to think about it and I look at maybe, you know, an average episode, like where maybe it got 50 to 60,000 views on it. Now, if I think of like my local movie theater, like the largest theater here, I think, I don't know, 200, 250 seats in it. If you got 50,000 views, I mean, you're filling up that theater quite a bit. And so when you put it in that context, it actually is kind of mind blowing. I'm able to make something in Fort Wayne, Indiana, that is being watched primarily on the coast and in the largest cities across this country.
He's free! No one's touching him! It's a tight end! This is Ian! This is Bass running like this! He's not a wolf! That's all he is!
That opportunity has never existed for filmmakers unless you had a distribution deal. And so I really do feel like we're on the early days of YouTube, and what's about to happen is going to be really beneficial for people like me. And so that's why I'm jumping in, and that's why I'm documenting my journey, because I want other people to see this as proof of what they're capable of doing as well.
We finna turn up.
I find this really interesting, and this was kind of the light bulb moment for me and what really got me back into YouTube and led me to this moment right now. Is I was talking to somebody at HBO, and this individual told me straight up, they said, well, dude, like, Hollywood is broken right now and it needs time to heal.
That's bad. So let's fix it.
Hearing that was crazy for me because that's from a place that I have a lot of admiration for. And when they're telling me Hollywood is broken and not to put focus on that, I found that intriguing because, you know, they are directly tied into that space. And what they ended up saying from there is they told me if I were you, I would just focus on YouTube because that's where everything's trending. And so, you know, I had just spent the last year and a half trying to find a distribution partner for my film for season 2. And, you know, just to find out that I was already in the right place the entire time. I've just been absolutely obsessed with this concept of being able to create original work, put it on YouTube, and get paid to do it. And yes, I'm not making exuberant amounts of money, but it's enough that I can see this becoming something that could be a viable career option over time. And that's not to say you're going to get rich overnight on YouTube. I certainly haven't. And honestly, I have taken a break for the last year and a half. But what it can do is you can build a foundation that you can grow from. And that's exactly where I'm at right now, is now that I've taken time to really digest the experience I've had and really think about what I want to do next, I'm now thinking about other ideas. I've actually shot 2 additional series that I'll be sharing on YouTube this year. And so I'm going to start putting it to the test. I'm going to see what happens. And this channel is allowing you guys to follow along with me, watch it all unfold. I'll be completely transparent. I'll show you the back end of my YouTube as it's happening. Again, I want people to learn from what I'm doing because I am hungry for this type of content. And when I've looked around YouTube and across the internet, there's just not a lot of it out there. You know, documentary is something that's becoming more popular. I know just here where I live that a lot of people, ever since we did this series, have attempted to do the same thing. And even when I look on YouTube, you know, back when we released this, there wasn't a lot of examples like this. People would compare it to, you know, Last Chance U or QB1. But now when I go to YouTube, there are hundreds of these types of stories. I'm realizing that this is really becoming a thing. And I think documentary as a genre is kind of having a renaissance right now on YouTube. And so I can go into my philosophies on YouTube, which I'll save that for another day. But I do see YouTube being a great opportunity. You know, I've been doing video for, at this point, almost a majority of my life. And just, again, the idea that you can make a video and put it on the internet and people can watch it and you can get paid for it is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Again, please subscribe. But until next time, take it easy.